Work backwards.
We're live.
Oh
So
wow. Okay.
we'll discuss that as we go along, sir.
I have to put my face on.
Right. Joshua, Mr. Joshua, how are you doing,
Jay,
sir?
fantastic. How are you?
Oh, very good. I was just thrown into a lethal weapon. Then I was gonna punch you on a wet carpet. A wet carpet. Anyway,
Well, I have
hopefully
diplomatic immunity, so I'd like to see you try.
we can make that happen. We're going to have an argument now. We just are. So we may as well have an argument with fisticuffs. So that's going to work. But welcome to the Tack and Pulse podcast, mate. We are live, as I said, and we are going to be talking about Starfleet Academy because it's all I can seem to talk about at the moment.
Well, it's a new Star Trek, for better or worse. It's how it is. You talk about the Star Trek you got, not the Star Trek you wish you
True.
had, I suppose.
True. And we haven't got any other big sci-fi at the moment, other than maybe Fallout, which I'm not enjoying. I don't know how you're feeling.
You know what? I'll be honest. I haven't. It's kind of not on my radar. I like the first season a lot. I'll watch anything with Kyle MacLachlan, but I've been wrapped up in like Star Trek. Plus, I'm reviewing this American cop show called The Rookie. Our readers love it.
Just that little show called The Rookie.
Yeah, and my mom loves it. It's one of the few things that I'll review that she'll actually read. So
yeah, damn show stopping Firefly getting a reboot. Well, that in DC. Damn
well,
DC.
I feel like that and certain creators and their problems.
Well, according to the rumor, Disney have tapped up Tim Minear, and Nathan Fillion wants Joss Whedon, but they're not so sure. But that's the rumor anyway. But Starfleet Academy, you love it.
I do.
Right?
I mean, and I'll just say that like of all the Star Trek that was coming, I did not expect to enjoy this one. I mean, I feel like there is a thing where certain people have preconceived expectations about what these shows will be that do become kind of self-fulfilling prophecies in a way. And I assumed that this one was not going to be for me, but at the same time I didn't begrudge its existence because I understand that, if we want Star Trek to keep going, if we don't want to just, I mean, now look, if Star Trek stops, we have about 1,000 hours of it with the movies and the shows. And, I'm sure at least for our lifetimes, that would be enough to rewatch and enjoy forever. Yeah. But I like the idea that maybe younger folks who don't know about Star Trek or whose parents aren't doing the job that they should by bringing Star Trek to their kids might find this show and it starts their journey. So, but then again, I watched I got the screeners, and the screeners arrived, I think it was like a little bit before Christmas, right around Christmas time. And I said, all right, I'm going to watch the first episode. And then I'll get back to work. 6 hours later, I had gone through the whole series and was, I was delightfully surprised at how much I did enjoy the show. But it was kind of what I expected. It is very much a young person focused show. It has an attitude and a tone that I think appeals to, say, modern viewers, or at least people our age writing for young people would think. And it won me over. I mean, I'm a soft sell with Star Trek. I think we know that. But
so I was told that the 5th episode of this season was brilliant. Is it the 6th episode that's brilliant?
No, it's the 5th. It was the one, Sam and Cisco.
Oh, God.
I mean, I can't understand. So I take it you were not moved by the.
I thought it was stupid. So, right, we'll get to the 5th in a minute. So I wanted to get you on because I know you are a very pro Kurtzman track. I'm always honest about it. I'll tell you when I like it and I'll tell you when I don't. This series it's got good bits, but on the whole, it's winding me up. I really don't like bits, but I say we can go through each episode and talk about that. I did a debate last week or the week before with a chap from a channel called JDA Sports, which is JDA Talks Trek, who is a conservative and a Catholic. and he shouts woke at this an awful lot. And we had a heated debate, let's say.
Oh, I'll have to catch up with it. Again, I've been
Oh,
behind it, but I'm interested to see it now.
it was polite, but
Oh, we're Star
but at
Trek
one
fans.
point
Of course it is.
I just sat and went, no, no, you're wrong. No, you're talking rubbish, you're wrong. And that was it. But yeah, his argument was that Kurtzman Trek is woke, but Star Trek before that wasn't. And I'm like, yeah, that's not true. But anyway, I hate the word woke. But let's talk about Starfleet Academy.
Sure.
So, the very first episode. What did you like about it?
I thought, okay, the thing that I liked the most was, and again, this was something that I was very skeptical of, was the way they incorporated sort of the post-burn status quo of the galaxy. Now, let's take it back to Discovery Season 3. So, as far as I understand it, and I've heard this secondhand, so I'm not sure how that. Yeah, that's my work email notification.
Good man.
But so the first two seasons of Star Trek Discovery were, I would say, rightly pegged as not quite the. It had sort of a darker view of Starfleet, like Starfleet at war and all that. And now I think what they were doing, and this is sort of where they got hemmed up, was like with the whole Lorca thing. I think that they made a mistake not revealing up front that Lorca was from the mirror universe, because that is why,
Wrong, but
huh?
They hinted it very strongly, but no.
So I didn't so when I review stuff, I watched the episode twice, then write my review. And it wasn't until Discovery's final season that I went back and did a proper rewatch. I was shocked at how many mirror images there were and like how heavy. And I was like, oh my God, how did we not see it? Like, and almost in a way, I feel like they're doing that thing that Lost writers did, especially towards the end, where they are writing to keep the secrets from the nerdiest, most detail-oriented fans.
I thought you were going to say write bad episodes then, because the final couple of seasons are.
Oh my God! Oh boy, we could have a whole one on Lost, because I went on a whole journey with Lost. But anyway, so I feel like that the reason when they jumped into the future, a part of it was with bringing in Pike by trying to have more traditional pro Starfleet things. But I think by sending them into the future where this burn thing happened, where Starfleet and the Federation are not quite at the level they were, was their way of being able to address the current moment wherein people do not trust institutions. I mean, at least here in the States. And I think you can obviously look at the headlines and figure out why. Yeah. And so that way, I feel like the Discovery folks were able to be like, oh, we're from the halcyon days of the Federation. And they were able to, sort of be more pro-institution while in this setting where the institution is perhaps not as good as it could be. Yeah. And I think that's what Starfleet Academy picks up. And that was the thing that I loved best about that first episode, was the way that you have the kids, some of whom are very skeptical, some of whom are very dogmatic in the way that, I'm thinking of Darum, the kid who is very, he's super gung ho, and then you have Genesis, whose father is an admiral. So I thought that it was a very interesting setup, that these kids are not just the first class, or they're the first class of Academy cadets. So it's not just about their journey, their success is how the galaxy is going to view the future relevance of Starfleet. And now one fair critique is that Paul Giamatti as Noose Braca is way over the top. Like, I mean,
I disagree.
Oh, really? I feel like he's on a steady diet of scenery.
why the hell is I was chewing on the scenery, but why the
Yeah.
hell is he not in more of these episodes? Because he's the only good thing I liked about the first episode. He was amazing.
Well, because
But
he's
let me
Paul
ask you this,
Giamatti,
sorry.
and they probably had him for like 2-3 days a week,
Yeah,
every 4 weeks.
so annoying. The Captain Ake and Caleb
Yes.
basically guilt tripping him, or actually straight up blackmailing him to join Starfleet Academy. Creative decision, but in reality, if this was real, which I obviously know it isn't, even though I really, really want a spaceship, not one that looks like the Athena, though. How would you on earth think, as Captain Ake, that that's going to go well?
Well, I mean,
the first 2 episodes, sorry, he nearly gets the ship destroyed, and then he nearly ruins the Bajoran Treaty.
Oh, you mean the Beta Z?
Beta Z. I keep doing that. I did that in the video as well.
It's what's the other one you always mess up? There's another one you always make a reference.
Apparently, I can't hear. Oh God, I get all sorts.
But yeah, again, see, I see your point, and that is an interesting critique. I think it's very interesting to have him be who he is and his.
I'll speak up. Yeah,
I will say that it's almost the Voyager thing, because I'd say by episode 3 he is almost too all in on Starfleet. Like he's not quite as reticent perhaps as maybe he should be.
He's forgotten about Mommy very quickly.
But look, you get a hot Betazoid girlfriend in your the other school. I get it. But no, I think it is an interesting dynamic, and I really wish they would do a little bit more with his mother and things like that, because first of all, I think Tatiana Maslany is an incredible actor. I mean, Orphan Black alone, she should just get an Emmy every time she walks in a room.
No, I agree with you there.
But I will say that I'm interested in where this is going. I feel like, if for some reason, like if she doesn't come back if that storyline isn't picked up till say like the finale, I'll say that might have been a missed opportunity, but for now I'm content to let the show sort of find its footing. I like the first episode better than the second episode, although because I will say that a lot of times we'll get mad at TV shows for being TV shows, and part of me thinks Starfleet hosting this very important debate treaty negotiation at the Starfleet Academy in its first week. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I have some questions about how that.
They weren't building any more sets for this show. All right, that was it.
Yeah. But so that one. Again, I liked more than I didn't, and I would argue that a hallmark of Star Trek is that episodes have good bits and bad bits in the same episode. Like the perfect episodes are very rare, and I think that especially when we look back, we tend to, I'd say, maybe romanticize sort of how good things were and how seamless things were.
I've been watching TNG, and I've got an argument for this, to be fair, because they were bad episodes of TNG, and I've been watching it again the last few weeks. They were, but you had 26 episodes. So if you had one that wasn't great, okay, you watched the next one, it was brilliant. But with 10 episodes, they're kind of putting it on themselves. They've got to kind of all hit the mark.
Well, see, now I feel like, and we've talked about this before, and I completely agree that the episode count does them no favors, especially in terms of finding like a show finding its voice. But I guarantee you, if you asked, Kylie Rossiter, Kristen Breyer, Alex Taub, Tawny Newsome, Alex Kurtzman, Noga Landau, would you like to have 26 episodes of this? All of them would say yes. I mean, that is a purely studio decision, and we can shit all over Paramount for that. I'll join you.
Financial decision when a show now costs $10 to $12 million to make.
Yeah, I mean, and
I mean, TNG was $5 million back in the day. It was a horrendous. I
oh,
mean,
I'm
back
trying.
then.
No, I don't even think it was that much. God, I did
Is that
this
that might be corrected for
like
inflation.
2 years
It's
ago. I
that
wrote
time.
about the numbers, and I found, thanks to Larry Nemechek, Dr. Trek, he has his website with all the like files and stuff.
Yeah,
There was a document that talked about, all I remember, I think it was maybe 2 million per episode.
it's five corrected for inflation.
Okay,
That's where I'm getting the
I don't
figure
I don't
from.
really
It
mess with
sounds like
corrected
about
for
right, about 2 million.
inflation because
I mean, but Voyager, the first two episodes cost. I read once it was like 26 million for the first two episodes of Voyager, which
oh
can't be right.
yeah. Yeah,
I know
that
it was
sounds like maybe an
expensive.
inflation number too, because I know
Yeah,
that
I think it was inflation.
Enterprise was the most expensive, not corrected for inflation pilot.
Yeah.
Um, but either way, I know that like TNG, it ended up almost breaking even with that first airing.
Yeah.
The however much the budget versus what they made from syndicating to all the channels, so that by that first rerun, Paramount was into profit.
Yeah.
Today, of course, all of these new shows are bafflingly kept behind the Paramount Plus paywall, which,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we've probably talked about this
I
too,
mean, the
that
first
like,
couple episodes were on YouTube initially, weren't they? But then taken down.
sure, yeah, and that they do that all the time. Like I remember they did that with like Lower Decks, and then they'd put up the season for like 2 weeks on
Yeah, they did it with
YouTube,
Strange New
and
World, didn't they, as well? Didn't they put season 2 up for like a month or something before
yeah,
season 3 came out? Yeah.
and the thing that, again, if we're criticizing the studio, all of the old stuff should be on Paramount Plus. That's fine, because that's what people are going to look for. That's what people know they love. Star Trek fans will pay for that. These new shows, I mean, all of us Star Trek fans, whether we like them or not, are going to be curious, and we're going to watch. Like I think there is you are obviously not having as much fun with Starfleet Academy as I am, but I don't think you've missed an episode yet, have you?
No.
Yeah. So, and
I wish
look,
I had.
but that's also how. Oh, go ahead. Finish.
In the first two episodes, twice, I paused it to see how long was left. That's not a good sign.
No. But that's also how it was with TNG, though. I mean, the ratings were high. Absolutely. The ratings were high, but no one was having fun with it. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to gauge that because we didn't have online back then. We can only go by like Starlog, letter columns and stuff. But
halfway through season 2, it went boom for me.
Yeah. I would even say start of season 3 was when it like Measure of a Man, I think, is when people were like, oh, wait a minute. They might be about their business here.
Yeah. And Voyager did the same thing, and then DS9 did the same thing.
Well, DS9, my first experience of being online and fandom was right when DS9 launched. And I remember, because I wasn't a huge DS9 fan at first. Yeah. And we'll talk about it when we get to episode 5, perhaps why I maybe loved it more than you did, because of why I started loving DS9. But I remember it's too dark. It's not Star Trek. It shits all over Gene Roddenberry's vision. I remember people calling Cisco the affirmative action captain, which is, so I feel that there are at least parallels. That it's hard to gauge then versus now, especially because now there is a cottage industry of people who, no matter what Starfleet Academy was going to be harping on hell, we got a presidential advisor who's a piece of garbage, and Elon Musk criticizing one image of this show because of body types, because of women, because of race, and because apparently pretend aliens can't be like one pretend alien and another pretend alien can't be a hybrid pretend alien for some reason.
No. All right, well, let's go back to the first couple of episodes.
Sure.
What did you think of the Athena? Honestly, don't lie.
I'll be honest, it's not my favorite design, but it's not, but I don't hate it. I like the Matt Jeffries silhouette. He nailed it out of the gate. The saucer, the section, the two nacelles, like you can draw the Enterprise with a circle and what, 5 lines, maybe 6 lines, and everyone knows what it is.
Beautiful ships ever.
Oh, it's my absolute favorite. I mean, the D's a close second, but the A, that is, that's, I mean, I could grab one of 3 A models right in front of me here.
Yeah.
Now the exterior of the ship, not my favorite, but the set, oh my god, the sets are, I really think they're amazing. Just I don't know, maybe it's because
a tree in the atrium, Joshua.
Why
tree?
Okay, you talk about it being real. What would be the easiest way on a large starship to create oxygen circulation?
Not one tree.
Well, maybe it's a super tree.
It's there for aesthetics. It's not there to generate
everything's there for aesthetics. It's a television show, Jay.
No, it's this. Oh, it's horrendous. And it's a cherry blossom, but it's not losing its blossom. So that means it's not even a real tree. So,
well, I mean, who knows? Maybe it's again, it's 900 years. Well, I'm sorry, 1100 years in the future.
Could be.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
Look. I'm surprised we don't have cherry blossoms that bloom all year round now, the way we do messing with plants.
Yeah, we should do a genetic engineering next. They're so pretty.
Yeah, but first episode I thought was fun because it was a good ship adventure. There was,
I like bits. Yeah,
you know, and then the second one, of the two, the second one was. I think the second one might be my least favorite of all the episodes so far. Which is not to say that I didn't like it. It was the one that I feel like held my attention the least, but I also understand its utility. Like that was the one where the cadet class really did sort of become the burgeoning crew that they're going to be. And I think that will get paid off next week. Actually, you talk about
set up an awful lot with the Academy, with the War College, and what the Academy was going to be, and so I think they had some storytelling to do in the second episode.
Well, let's jump ahead. Episode 3, the prank episode. How did you feel about that one?
I hated it. Right. So,
my God, Jay, you hate fun. You hate fun. Like I feel like this is beyond just your Britishness.
It's not Star Trek. It's just not Star Trek.
Right, I'm sorry. Deep Space Nine had Move Along Home. Deep Space Nine, the serious, dark, mature Star Trek. The Star Trek that grew up. Move Along Home was in the first 10 episodes.
Yeah, I'm going to smash your argument here. Right, so every single episode of this show has these silly, stupid moments in it. Like every so often, we would get a silly, quirky Star Trek episode. 1 in 26. Every single episode of this show, I can almost feel Tony Newsom going, "This is a good idea. Let's do this. What we could do is have this plant that obviously is from, I know it's from Sulu and thing, but it'll just grow like crazy, and everybody will go, ah, and it'll be like Little Shop of Horrors." And I'm just like, no. The transporter prank. It wasn't a prank. Somebody should have died. That's not a prank.
I agree to disagree on that one. The one thing
it fell like 10 feet.
I mean, I thought it was funny. I will say this though, you say that Star Trek, the old Star Trek did not have like it was either silly or serious. I mean, look at every Quark and Odo scene in the first season of Deep Space Nine and even further, always goofy. Every episode of TOS, the start and the finish was Spock and McCoy giving each other barbs, trying to make people laugh. Humor and TNG, Data not understanding some human shit, or Worf. I mean, all those things were in there. I just, I will say this: there is a higher joke to drama ratio in Starfleet Academy, but I think that's by design because this is for a specific kind of audience that may appreciate that more than perhaps some of us diehards, especially because we want 26 episodes instead of just 10. I do agree with you. For better or worse. Well, for better or worse, it is very clear that the humor has been baked in from the beginning. And some of it plays, some of it doesn't, but that such is the way humor works. But again, the
Yeah,
prank episode,
it's
I
just,
love that one. I thought that was,
it's
you
just
know,
too much. It's too much silliness. It's constant. And I would argue this about Strange New Worlds as well. They have bits in it, and I always point to the Pike doing the silly pirate impression. That's just not anything we've ever seen in Star Trek. And like actually going beyond. I mean, we'd see
well, let me
Kirk
ask, so
make
is
little
Star Trek
comment, a little eye and stuff, but not like going,
must,
lad. We just wouldn't do it.
okay. Again, these are pretend people, so they do whatever the writer tells them. And also, there are people who are dead serious that will. I mean, people act inconsistently. The idea that to write a good character, the character must be consistent in all times. That's actually what you might call bad writing. Now, again,
Yeah,
we may have talked about this. I don't believe in good or bad writing because those are objective terms describing a
yeah,
subjective
no, yeah,
experience.
true.
And so, but I think for our sake, good or bad is liked it, didn't like it,
Yeah,
works, it doesn't work. So I think but I think that, like, to bring it back to Lost, one of the things that I think Lost suffered from, it was an intentional choice the writers made, was to have the characters act in ways that are sometimes deliberately frustrating to the audience. Now, I think Star Trek suffers from having their characters act in ways that are frustrating to the audience, but I don't think they're meant to frustrate the audience.
no,
But
Jaden.
I would just say that, you said that it's not what Star Trek does, and I would counter with things that are what Star Trek does. Everything was not what Star Trek does until Star Trek did it. I mean, think about DS9. Everything in DS9 was opposite of what, or in opposition to what TNG was. There was the Roddenberry box was pretty much out the window. The characters were having sort of personal disagreements. Now, a lot of them were the non-Starfleet characters. That's kind of how they got away with it.
Yeah.
The idea of, I remember talking to some old Star Trek fans who hated season 3. They loved the fact that Gene Roddenberry did not consider season 3 to be canon because season 3 had a lot of those funny episodes. Trouble with Tribbles, the freaking cowboy one. They hated that. Now, I don't know how you feel, but Trouble with Tribbles, one of my all-time favorite episodes.
Yeah, it's one of the great
so
episodes.
Much so that DS9, the Dark Sirius show, for the 30th anniversary, they went and visited the Trouble with Tribbles.
Amazing. I've never seen anything like that when they did that.
I'll tell you what, those effects hold up so well today.
Oh yeah, even today. There's two. Oh, actually, only really one silly moment in that when it comes through the thing and he goes, yeah. Most of that episode is quite serious. So,
I'm sorry.
It's supposed to be where they have the
fighting the Klingons, the bar fight with the
the bar fight was very. But again, it was not over the top. It was
the guy's name is Arn Darvin.
I know, but it's kind of a subtle humor when he's when Kirk's there.
I disagree that it's a subtle humor. I think it's just it works for you, so you're more forgiving of it than perhaps, say, the Tribbles falling out of the thing and Captain Kirk being like, you're more forgiving of that than some cadet falling naked into a classroom because of a transporter prank.
I wouldn't mind if it wasn't constant, and they then do.
I think that's a perception thing, man, because it's not all the way constant. I mean, and again, the prank episode, I would say, has the most end-to-end comedy, no question.
I think the 5th one does. But I think
the
5th one had the bits of humor that wound me up the most.
Okay.
But we'll get onto that in a minute. What do you think about Captain Ake?
Oh, I love her.
I think you're probably going to know with the
here's what I remember. First of all, again, it's sort of unfair because I think Holly Hunter is a fantastic actor. I will watch her do literally anything.
She's kind of gorgeous as well.
Of course, yeah. I like Lanthanites. I think Lanthanites are a great new addition. I love them, and I love the way that she is sort of building on the very, because Carol Kane in Strange New Worlds is just doing what Carol Kane does in a role, but I feel that Holly Hunter's portrayal of Ake, I think she's not, impersonating Carol Kane, but I think she's sort of taking elements of how Carol Kane plays Pelia, putting it in Ake in a
Yeah.
way that makes her, I think, sort of believable as an authority figure, but also still has that sort of Lanthanite
Weirdness.
weirdness, doesn't really
Yeah.
care about things. And I remember when I was watching the screeners, I in my thought in my head was, people are gonna hate the way she sits. Oh, they're gonna hate it.
Yeah, they
And
did.
I'm sorry, that one. Look, I try to be gracious to the Star Trek fans who do not love the Star Trek the way that I love Star Trek. But if
Yeah.
you're mad about how she sits in the chair, that is a dumb, dumb complaint. Because I'll tell you why.
Right.
No one has ever been pissed at Riker for how he sits in a chair like a fucking madman.
He doesn't. Well, for one, it was because he got a bad back apparently when he was doing a lot of that leg. But he would do the Riker maneuver.
And
But it
people
was
love
him
it.
stepping over the chair. It wasn't. He wasn't in the captain's chair, curled up with a book. That was the bit that had kind of annoyed me. And when she's lounging all over the chair, I think she does it when she's in. I can't remember his name, but the War Academy guy's office. I think she
Uh-huh.
does that to annoy him, and
Oh,
that seems to be in the
sure.
because she doesn't do that as much the rest of the
Yeah.
time when she's talking to Caleb or
Kelrick.
whatever else.
Kelrick is the War College
Caleb.
guy's name.
She's doing it to make him feel uncomfortable, and that does come across.
I think
But
I
when
think she
she's
does.
sat in the captain's chair,
I think
no,
it goes
yeah,
beyond that too. I think it is an absolutely a character choice, and I think it does go beyond that because I think she does that to make him uncomfortable specifically because he's so uptight.
Yeah.
But I think it is part of like the idea that she is not this rigid captain. She is comfortable.
She is a chancellor as well, which we have to keep remembering.
Yeah.
She is a captain, but she's also a teacher. She's also the headmistress. So it's not a traditional captain character.
Yeah.
That makes
And
sense.
I mean, and that is an excellent point. What I find really funny is Ake reminds me of like a lot of my college professors because when I went to the writing program, a lot of your writing professors are very much like the stereotypes. They are either, hey, call me Jen, call me Steve, or there's the ones that are like, they're very into the like minutia of it. And then you have someone like Laura Thok, who I swear she reminds me so much of like a drill sergeant that I had at Fort Jackson, one of the women drill sergeants that we had, who, by the way, were the scariest ones, no question. I mean, it's just the attitude, the way that, and it's funny. I think back, you look at Gina Yashir out of makeup, and I'm like, oh yeah, she does kind of look like Drill Sergeant Brown, absolutely. But yeah, she like the thing about that the bit, I think it was in the second episode where she talks about, I don't remember the second or first episode where the kid runs away and she's like, I can almost spot the runner. That felt very ripped from my experience in basic training. Like because the drill sergeants, when I was in basic training, I remember being, for the first week or two, I was terrified of them. Like I was like, these guys will kill me if I don't behave. And then they would do this thing where you'd be called, they called it the platoon guide, which was I don't know how they did it in your experience, but it was just we were the student who was in charge, like the platoon leader, but we were a student leader. So when everybody was formed up looking at the drill sergeant, I was facing the platoon with my back to him, but I could see the other drill sergeants behind us. And so when the drill sergeant up front was going crazy, saying all that, like, death will come for you, blah, blah, the other drill sergeants were in the back cracking up. And I was like, oh, it's.
Well, sergeants in the UK are a little bit more, they are intense, but you wouldn't laugh at them. I would laugh.
Oh, you would never laugh at them. If they catch you laughing, you are doing push-ups till your eyes bleed. But
she is the least intense drill sergeant, whatever you want to call it. Everything. She hasn't got the voice for it, and she's an actress I adore, to be fair. And she's done sort of comedy roles over here. And I kind of met her once, and she's great. She is not remotely intense. She isn't scary at all. If she barked orders at me, I would stop and think about whether I was going to follow him or not. There's just no intensity there for me. Other than maybe her size, she's not intimidating, and that's my problem with the character. I wish they'd almost give her another part because she just doesn't fit that one. And the guy playing Jaden is the same. It's just really badly cast.
Strong disagree. I mean, look, I will admit the first time I heard the voice, I was like, is this the, but you know what? Same with Worf. No. I'm now into it. I like
Michael
it's a choice.
Got a deep voice with bass in it,
but that's not
his voice.
No, they're not. There was a video where I saw a video on one of the socials where he slipped into the voice, and there is,
dear Lord,
I don't think there's any effect on it.
It sounds like it's dubbed over, and not very well, as well. That's what that was.
I mean, I'll be honest, man. It almost feels like one of those nitpicks where you are like kind of reaching for something that may not be there, and you know, let's
genuinely irritating after a bit when thought goes into your head. That sounds dubbed. When it then goes on and on, eventually it sort of goes, this is actually getting on my nerves now. If I hadn't have thought it, it might not have bothered me. But once that thought went into my head, it was like a brain worm.
Well, I do think that certain people who went into Starfleet Academy already, if not deciding, but suspecting that they were going to hate it. I feel that there is a thing that happens where people will look at these episodes in the most uncharitable way possible. And I would say, you know, again, it's entertainment, like what you like, but I feel like they aren't quite giving it a fair shake. I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just saying that's what I've seen from others. And let's keep it on Jaden. Let's go to episode 4, because that was the first episode where I was like, oh, this one's something else. And I'll tell you, so I forget where I saw the comment, but someone was complaining about the scene in which him and Caleb are eating pizza, and he spits out the pepperoni and says, I won't eat anything that wasn't killed in a fair fight. Yeah. And this guy was going off because the pepperonis were replicated, so therefore not actually from an animal. And, you know, I can understand that complaint, but he then took it a step further, or I say he, probably he, but they took it a step further and said that it was the show being woke trying to pander to vegans, which even vegans don't like other vegans. So yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. And here's the way I read that scene. And again, it's been a while since I've seen that episode, but if I remember correctly, in that scene, he's eating the pizza, says he doesn't eat anything with a fair fight, and then Caleb starts talking about like what he knows about Klingons and the Song of Kalish and stuff like that, and talking about how I guess paying off the Star Trek 6 thing where Kronos is gone. Yeah. And so here's where I don't know what he's doing there. I don't know if by saying he only eats a thing that died in a fair fight, I don't know if he is fronting or, you know, like pretending that he's more Klingon than he feels like he is, or if that is just a thing he believes because of his, you know, his parents' thing. Because right after that scene, or very shortly after, is when we get our first flashback to these refugee Klingons, where the like glory for battle thing seems to have sort of shifted to hunting, which I thought was just, it blew me away because, you know, I don't know how long, again, I don't know how long Kronos has been gone, but it has to probably have been for quite some time because the culture has sort of shifted. And I think that as they became a refugee,
we have to remember it's 900 years. Yeah.
Huh?
We have to remember there's 900 years sort of gone by, and the species would have changed slightly. I think that whole pepperoni thing was kind of logical for a Klingon. We'd never seen that before. Yeah. But it did kind of make sense. It was a new touch on something that would be logical for a Klingon.
I mean, I wanted it to be him, like, you know, like trying to play up to the like idea of the tough Klingon that he
Yeah.
Everyone thinks he is, but he isn't. But I actually, upon thinking about it, I think he just believed that because that's what his parents taught him. And I did think it was very interesting that to the cadets and stuff, he is the Klingon. He is he is all Klingon. And then in his family flashbacks, he's not. He's the disappointment Klingon.
Yeah.
His brother supports him and like loved him and stuff, but and then I loved the thing where his father gets mad and misses the shot because he doesn't kill the thing, and then Laura Thok telling him that he wouldn't have missed, he wouldn't miss accidentally, he missed on purpose, that it was a safe face saving measure, that then gets into the end where they do a kind of reverse Vulcan hello. They do the fake battle so that the Klingons can claim the planet. I mean, I thought that was a really well done episode that sort of reconciles how a Klingon empire that is not at odds with Starfleet, but also not full on allies and desperately trying to cling on. That wasn't even on purpose, to cling to whatever culture. I'm so delighted that happened. But cling to their culture, especially in the wake of their homeworld being destroyed. I thought that was, I mean, if we're going, pound for pound, trying to remove as much of my personal things out of it, I think episode 4 might be the most solidly conceived episode that
I
we've
tell you
got.
what, my mom said, because I watched it at my mom and dad's. She
Okay.
walked past and went, "When did Star Trek start making cheap shows?" And that made me go, "Oh, she's got a point. They've spent a lot of money on this show, but it kind of looks cheap." But I was going to ask you about the Jaden scene with, I want to call him what the hell is his name?
Which one?
The dude that can turn into like the big blue thing that can.
That's Darum, I think. He's the Keonian. Vomits glitter.
Keonian. Yeah. The scene with them two. Okay. Now, we've already got a lesbian couple, which people kicked off about. I didn't care two slices about that, though, because they're just lesbians. It wasn't a big thing. It was just lesbians. Lesbians exist.
I feel like technically pansexual because one of them is an alien. Like, once you get into an aliens, you gotta go. You kind of got to go pansexual.
Well, yeah, but we've now got Jaden, and I think that other guy's supposed to be bisexual, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah,
that scene where we realise Jaden is gay. It wasn't that they did it; that it was too long. I'm halfway through going, "Oh, okay, now this is a bit cringy," and I just feel like it wasn't that they did the scene; it's they did it quite badly, and it felt cheesy. And to be honest, a lot of this series has felt really cheesy, and I think again that's part of my problem with it. I don't think it's particularly well written. I don't think the dialogue is particularly well written. It feels quite chunky and clunky even, and just that scene, there's no other way of saying that. It was about 10 seconds too long, and it went from a moment of, "Oh, what's going on here?" to, "Yeah, okay." And another scene with Jaden in episode 3 when he stops the cadets on the stairs. And I know, again, it's supposed to be like this awkward moment that we had in our teenage years, and that's what they're doing with it, and that's what they're trying to, sort of represent. I was embarrassed for him. I was just like,
I think you were supposed to be. I think you were supposed to get a little secondhand embarrassment. Yeah. I think that secondhand embarrassment is what they're, what they're trying to incite in the audience. Whether that's bad or good, I think is a matter. I also, that doesn't, those moments I go, all right, we're paying our young adult, like it's I call it in my head the YA tax. That is for the fans who are, because again, I brought up The Rookie. The Rookie is very much like that. Some people are watching it because they want to see cops and gunfights, but the majority of the people, at least who read and comment on my reviews, are like, what about Chenford? What about this couple? Like, the romance is part of it. Yeah. And, I feel like what's interesting about Star Trek is that Star Trek always downplayed the romance stuff in the past so much, including of course, there's the ones that weren't romances, like your Spock Kirk shipping, your and all the others.
Yeah.
Hell, that's Star Trek invented shipping kind of as a thing, or at least in the modern context. I've heard like Jane Austen fans did that way back in the day, but
Yeah. No,
you
I'd
know,
agree with you that the relationship wasn't front and center like it is in this, but
yeah,
you did have the Riker whole thing with Balana, and then
yeah. But you've heard of
Troy with Worf, and then
yeah,
and there were relationship stuff in there, but and obviously you did the same in DS9. It was there, but it
yeah.
wasn't
Oh,
quite
you know
the
what?
Star
DS9
Trek
really
stuff
did.
front and
I
center.
think DS9 was the one that had the most with Kira and Odo,
Yeah,
and Cat when Cassidy showed up, and
yeah.
oh, and then you had
In Voyager
Jazdia
as
and
well, but not
Worf.
as. Yeah, they didn't have a lot in Voyager.
Yeah, well, it was like it was Paris and Torres, and then it kind of like that would kind of, and then like in the finale, it's like oh they got married, and then the finale, it's like
Seven
oh they have a baby.
and yeah. Well, Seven
Um,
and Chakotay you had as well, but that was brief in one
oof,
episode that didn't may or may not have actually really happened. And
yeah,
you had stuff going on, but it wasn't. It was very background
but I
stuff.
think that and I think more so than I think it's a fair critique for well, yeah, they're mostly fair critiques, but I think it's a better critique for Strange New Worlds. The focus on like because even I wrote an article in the middle of season 3, like, all right, can we get enough of the Spock romance stuff? Like, come on, it's enough. Um, but I think that the it's partly the that's the young adult appeal of it. I feel like the relationship stuff, the awkwardness, the cringiness of it, the self-discovery of it. I think that is the part that is going
Yeah,
to, if anything is going to speak to younger audiences, it'll be that part. And it's funny. People call it like, oh, Star Trek on the CW. Well, first of all, Star Trek was always on the CW. It was on UPN or whatever channels became UPN, which became the CW. So first of all,
yeah,
and I don't think the CW is an insult. I mean, you look at the superhero shows, they were morality melodramas for teenagers. Um,
yeah,
and, I think there's a place in Star Trek for that.
yeah.
Uh,
Sorry, just a second. Are you able to turn your microphone down a little bit? Because
Down a little bit.
I
Let
think
me,
that's what's messing up. People having to turn it right down so they
oh, I'm
can't hear
sorry.
me.
I am loud is it, how do I do
That's
that?
that's better. I
Okay.
think that's better. Or did you do anything?
I just moved the microphone sort of away.
No, I think that's
Like
a
I
little bit
tilted
better.
it down.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was
Sorry,
reverb
gang.
a bit as well. No, it's fine. I'm going to switch to I've got a microphone, but I need a headset for it, and
Yeah.
I'll get one because the sound on this thing isn't great. But yeah, I agree with you the relationship, but this whole show was always going to push the relationship stuff forwards because they're trying to do like they've got very much a teen drama in the background, and that's kind of the point. Um, this show is very much aimed not at 40 to 50-year-old Star Trek fans.
Right.
Now you can argue whether that's a good idea or not, but that's what they did.
I mean, I think it's a necessary one because again, Star Trek and Star Wars, I think, have a very similar thing in that every time there's a new iteration of it, the
Yeah,
people who've been around since the beginning are skeptical to outright hostile. And then, given time, 10, 20, sometimes 30 years, they then grow to accept it. And I feel like, I still every once in a while, I run into people who are like, DS9 isn't Star Trek. It's bullshit. I'm like, wow, they still make you.
yeah.
But it's
They
Enterprise,
were off
Voyage.
exploring worlds, though. I mean, they didn't just. They got better when the Defiant came into it, but they were off exploring through the wormhole, and yeah, I know they were on a
Very
station, but it was
rarely.
still Star Trek. I
I
mean,
think. Well, I think everything is Star Trek. Well, the stuff that isn't Star Trek till Star Trek does it. And it. But
I do agree to that to a point. I do agree that to a point.
but the one thing that I've noticed, I've never seen anyone who started watching with Voyager, or even who started
Mm,
watching with Discovery, Strange New Worlds. They don't come in and go, "Oh, this new stuff is great. This old stuff is crap." To them, it's all Star Trek, and You know, they notice the differences in the sets and the effects and the dated storytelling in certain ways. But the people who come in with the news trek, they love what else is there almost
Yeah.
exclusively, where and it's only us old heads who have the problem with accepting what's new. And you know, if I
Yeah.
guarantee you, if you had to the people who called Cisco and Janeway the affirmative action captains back in the 90s, if you had said in 2026 they are going to be beloved iconic classic Star Trek, they would have, you know, given you the old and
I
sent.
didn't like Cisco until he shaved his head, and then I just went,
Now,
that's a captain. He just looked better. But Janeway, I loved almost immediately. I just
same
thought
here.
Janeway immediately was brilliant. Um,
You know,
uh,
it wasn't Captain Cisco who brought me into DS9. It was Jake. Because Jake was the kid on Star Trek who was like a kid. And then he wanted to be a writer. I was like, oh my, is this just for me? So Jake Cisco was my way in to DS9 when I was younger. And then of course, once I got older, I began to appreciate its complexities and stuff even more. And now that I'm a dad, I have a whole different level of appreciation for it. Um, but and this may speak to why I loved episode 5 so much. Jake Cisco was my guy. And
I did like they did that. I loved it.
I have wanted Jake Cisco back in Star Trek since like Picard. I remember watching the first episode of Picard when he's doing that interview, and I'm like, what? Isn't this Jake? Turns out apparently it was supposed to be, and they wouldn't let him do it for some reason. But
when I was told Jake was coming back ages ago, I have to admit I was like,
was it me? Did I tell you?
No, it was
Oh.
the guy that I know.
Look at me respecting embargoes, even with my pals.
Yeah. Oh no, I was literally told you can't tell anyone. Stupid.
Yeah. I mean, I've been sitting on this since Christmas.
Trying to protect their jobs. But I thought that was very clever, and I thought he did a great job as well. I don't know if that guy shaves his head normally, but if they didn't, doing it was genius.
Yeah.
Because he had the feel of Cisco, which again, if that was on purpose, I tip my hat to them. It was very good.
There is Sirach Lofton along with he hosts a podcast called The Seventh Rule. I don't know if you're aware of it, but
I've not seen it. No,
it is.
I don't watch a lot of YouTube. Weirdly,
I get it. I get it. I know this one because I'm somewhat friendly with some of the other hosts, and the Seventh Rule, they just put out an episode with Sirach and Tawny Newsome, and I was watching that a bit before coming on here, and Sirach said that he absolutely was trying to be how Jake would be having been raised by Cisco. So it was Sirach bringing in a little bit of that Avery Brooks flavor, and I think that's just how he looks. I don't think they did anything special to his look.
Good. Well, I say it came across that was perfect, to be honest. And it felt like you said. It felt like Avery Brooks' kid. It felt like Cisco's kid, which I know he is, but he's not really. But I thought that was beautifully done. I don't understand why they black out Cisco's face when they do What Happened to the Emissary. You can see it's his ears.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that. It was
well,
weird. Avery Brooks was not giving him permission or something.
Well, now I've heard tell that at least Sirach, and I think there was hints that the writers were in touch with Avery Brooks, but it might have been it. I mean, I think in reality it might be something like Image license, like rights or something. I mean, I have to imagine that they could just show his face. But I think that was maybe a choice made in deference, which is why I think they added the detail that the Bajorans have decided to not show his image anymore, which I think is a very interesting sort of religious quirk.
Yeah, that adds. I suppose they did that because maybe they couldn't show his face, and then
or just that they
together. Yeah,
I mean, I think maybe they could have legally, because again, Paramount owns DS9 and can show whatever bits of DS. I mean, they used his voice in the end.
Yeah.
By the way, do you know what episode that's from? I couldn't figure it out.
I thought it was done with AI. Myself.
Really?
I don't think that's a quote from a DS9 show. I meant to ask somebody about that actually, but my
I
first thought
can't
was,
imagine
I
they would have
wonder if they've done that
AI'd
with
his
AI.
voice. I mean, I wonder
Well,
if
they
it
can AI
was.
anything now. It's creepy what they can
It's
do.
very true.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if they're not going to show his image, I doubt they would
Yeah.
AI his voice. I mean, it might be some sort
Mm.
of outtake. That's the only thing I was thinking is like maybe it was an outtake from
But again, if they're
something.
allowed to do that, they would have shown the face, unless they literally. Somebody just said it was from an audio book from 2007. Thank you very much, Jess Preston. Good call. Good catch.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that was just a creative decision that he's like become so almost godlike.
I think it was done in deference. I think it
face.
was done in deference because Avery Brooks is retired, and I'm sure they were like, "Hey, do you want to come back?" And he was probably like, "No."
Yeah.
And so I think it was, and again, I think there is, I'd even say whether it was necessity or not, an artistic sort of. It's an interesting artistic sort of choice to have, because it's funny. I remember there was there's this thing where people like, oh, if they're not in it, it's not about them. It's like, well, no, you can have a whole story about a character, about someone that they're not in. Like the absence is sometimes is more powerful than the presence. And we'll get into the silly parts of the episode in a second, but the thing that I liked, what I really love, the thing that I loved about what they did is that, and I don't know if you're aware of this or how many of the people watching are aware of this, but that, there was a big point of contention in the Deep Space Nine finale between Ira Stephen Bear and Avery Brooks. Now, the one thing I don't think people realize is that Ira Stephen Bear, like Michael Piller, co-created Deep Space Nine with Rick Berman. I mean, Rick Berman, and this is my understanding from what I've read. It's not fact, but Rick Berman was told by Brandon Tartikoff, we want The Rifleman as a sci-fi series. The Rifleman is Star Trek. Father, son, frontier town, and that became Sisko and Jake on a space station in the Bajoran space station. And so Michael Piller was the head writer, executive producer, but he was also the head writer, executive producer of TNG. And then immediately after DS9, him and Jerry Taylor went off to create Voyager. So Ira Stephen Bear, who wrote on TNG for a little bit, left, was brought in, and I was either in the center seat or the DS9 What We Left Behind documentary. Piller told Bear, this show is yours. You're the guy in charge. And I think, with the exception of, say, Lower Decks and Prodigy, and maybe Strange New Worlds, because I don't think they've changed their producers, but other than those three, Deep Space Nine is the only show that has had a single head writer, showrunner throughout its entire run.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, so Deep Space Nine is the most creatively consistent single, like, and again, of course there was a whole team of people there, but it's the most sort of like single vision.
No, you have one captain steering the ship. It does make a big difference. They had one vision more than any other Star Trek, maybe other than Voyager, for what the 7 seasons would be, though, wouldn't they? They had a vision from day one where they were going with this show.
Yeah, and it was it was Ira Stephen Bear. Like, in Voyager, Jerry Taylor left, and then who took over? I don't think it was Brandon Braga, but either way, they had different head writers. But so Ira Stephen Bear always wanted Sisko to become, like, to ascend as the emissary, Celestial Temple, all that. Avery Brooks said, this is one of, Sisko and Jake are one of the few positive examples of a black father on 1990s television. I am not going to have him abandon his family. This is why you have that scene where he shows up with Cassidy talking about, I'll be back. Ira Stephen Bear never intended for Sisko to come back. And, Avery Brooks hoped he would. And
that's really, that's a good point. I could see that would be something he would push for.
Yeah.
Let's talk about episode 5 then, and the stupid bits.
Okay.
Well, reel them off.
Well, hold on. Let me finish the thought, though, about the Sisko thing.
Sorry.
Just that, so Sam trying to solve the mystery of Sisko, like the idea that Sisko, Starfleet in general doesn't know what happened to him. is I think them not trying to undo that singular vision of Ira Stephen Bears. I think they want to have him have his story be his story,
Yeah.
and not undo that. And then that's why I think the Jake Sisko thing, where he says, "Oh, I can't prove it, but he's been with me the entire time." I think that's them of trying to like have their profits and eat it too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I also would say, just because what Dax and even what Jake told Sam, I'm not saying it's true, but it may not be the whole truth, because I think the subtext in that whole thing is that the people who knew Sisko, what they know about what happened to him is much different than what the galaxy at large knows about what happened to him.
Okay.
But yeah, let's get into the rest of it.
Well, it just made me think a little bit about that, though, in that I was disappointed in this episode at first that they didn't tease us something or give us something about Sisko and what happened. But actually, it's a little bit like they're damned if they do and damned if they don't kind of situation. And that's the same as, really, that when they do a different show and you're talking about how people get disappointed. I hated Stargate Universe when it came out. I was so disappointed with it. I can watch it back now and I can appreciate it. I couldn't appreciate it at the time. It was so different to what had come before that I just couldn't get over it. But it was one of those things that if they'd have done the same show again, people would have gone, "You've run out of ideas. Why can't you do something different?" So it is a damned if you do and damned if you don't sort of thing. Right. So silly bits. I adore the actress that plays Sam. I think she's adorable.
Therese Brooks.
I just want to grab her by the cheeks and go, "Oh, you!" I think she's great.
That's so funny, because the actor, fantastic, but the character, I did not like Sam at first. Sam was like the try-hard character for me, and then it was this episode that completely spun me around and like retroactively made me go, "Oh, okay."
I'm not sure I love the character, but I love her.
Yeah.
And I think I would love her if I met her. Even though she'd probably annoy me after a bit, and I would have to like go, "I need some alone time."
They're kids. Of course they're going to annoy you after a little bit. They're kids.
Oh God, I hate people that are too happy. I love being around people that are really happy, but it does sort of gnaw you after a bit.
Like, I mean, that is your innate Britishness.
Yeah.
Too much joy.
My innate grumpiness. If Sam came to me in the morning and it was like ba 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 ba, and I haven't had my second cup of coffee, I would just punch her in the face.
Sounds very much like the Dr. Sam relationship, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. The whole dancing and breaking the fourth wall down, I really bothered me.
Oh, me too.
It really irritated me. But the thing that irritated me the most was the throwing up glitter.
I knew it.
As soon as they did that, I keep moaning about creative decisions these people make. And there's sometimes they make a decision, you just think, I don't understand why they did that. They didn't have to.
Because it doesn't matter. It's no sillier than green blood, Pepto-Bismol, Klingon blood.
It is. Now, come on, Joshua. It is, mate. There's a reason why you could have green blood or bright pink blood if you're a Klingon, because there's physiological differences. There's no reason why you can't have a blood.
Explain to me how it is physiologically impossible for a Chthonian or whatever they're called, Keonian, to throw up glitter.
Idiotic. And there's no biological reason I can think of that banana would turn into glitter. Biologically, how? Green blood, pink blood.
I'll tell you exactly how. There is the digestive process of the Keonian. There are chemicals and enzymes that that strip out the nutrients, but they don't need metals. Maybe they don't need metals. So it's like that's why it's shiny.
Please.
I'm just saying. Look, I admit, it is a thing you either find funny or you don't. But I would say that it is inherently no less ridiculous than Odo sleeping in a bucket or any other kind of alien quirky thing. But I think that the throwing up glitter is very much the kind of detail that would be in a story, I would say, aimed at Gen Z, maybe Gen Alpha people, that they would find cute or funny.
I never thought Odo sleeping in a bucket was silly, because he says repeatedly, actually holding a physical form takes effort. So that's him relaxing. That's why I actually thought that was
But
was
but
logical.
again, they gave you some, like, again, for whatever reason, however their internal chemistry works, potassium immediately starts to rot in their system, and for whatever reason, the way that their food, instead of being lumpy looking oatmeal stuff, it comes out as glitter. Again, I admit that it is. I will
It is
concede
stupid.
that I was giving you a bit of the business, because it is a silly detail that you either like or you don't.
No,
It didn't bother me, but I
I
will
think
tell
that
you.
the problem is it was an end bit of quite a silly opening sequence.
Yeah.
It was an over top moment in an over the top bit
See, I'll
that
tell you,
again it didn't need to do.
the
That's my
the
point.
one thing that I will say, that, like, again, I think episode 5 is could be in my discussion of top 10 Star Trek episodes ever. Might be recency bias, and it might be the Jake Sisko of it all. I don't know, but there is something
Including
about,
DS9 Voyager, top 10
yeah.
ever, or top
I
10
mean,
new
yeah,
friends.
again, my top 10 will change based on the last 15 episodes I've watched. Let's be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
There is my top 10 is a 1,000 episode tie for.
I could think about 10 episodes that probably were beyond even what we expect from Star Trek, like In the Pale Moonlight, Conspiracy, just off the top of my head.
It's funny.
Worlds, yeah.
One of my sort of like things is that I would say that City on the Edge of Forever wasn't in my top 10. And then I rewatched it to write about it, and I was like, God damn it, this is a perfect episode, So again, it's always a moving target, but I know I derailed my own point. I remember. Oh, so when it began, the thing where it crossed out the CBS thing and was like, it's my story, and I just went, because I've never liked the meta direct address, and it feels like a very young person, like a very Gen Z, Gen Alpha kind of thing that they do, this sort of direct address. And then it won me over, because at the end, she's not talking to us. Sam isn't talking to us. She's talking to Sisko. At the end, she's sitting on the bench talking to Sisko. Sisko is who she's been telling that story to, not us. And then I'm like, how is that?
Josh, no, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Because she does that before she decides to do anything with Sisko.
No, she starts telling the story about Sisko. She starts
the opening sequence. She hasn't decided to do that yet, because it's only when they do the stupid Mork and Mindy rip-off that she then goes, because they say, you've got to get on this mysteries classroom, and then she goes to the teacher and goes, I need to get in the classroom, I want to find out, and then I'll solve the Sisko mystery. So all the fourth wall bit before
no. I hate to challenge you, but no, that is the framing of why she is telling that story. She is telling that story. The end scene where she's sitting on the bench she is telling that whole story from the beginning. And she started with that, how she got onto the case. Yeah, that is. I assure you.
Agree to disagree because of time and how time works.
Well, I mean, but she's not telling the story as it happens.
She's talking to the camera, which in your case, you're saying that she's talking to Sisko before she decides to look into Sisko. That's my only point.
But she's not telling the story as it happens. Like, everything's already happened.
Wall and talking to the audience or whatever. But I thought you were saying that she was actually talking to Sisko.
So wait, are you thinking of it like a captain's log? How, like, because the logs aren't like, the logs are recorded after.
I was thinking about a chronological order. She's talking to the camera and breaking the fourth wall down, and then about a quarter into the episode, she decides to look into Sisko.
But her decision to look into Sisko isn't said through narration.
No, but the whole bit before it is if she's
right. She's setting up. She's setting up who she was before she started looking into Sisko. I mean, that whole thing with all the names.
The fourth wall down that was annoying me. That's what I'm saying.
Me too, but I'm saying that it earned it because she was talking to Sisko, and it's really no different than a captain's log.
Okay.
It's she was talking
in the Pale Moonlight, though, isn't it? He does that and he breaks down the fourth wall in a way, but he's doing his captain log.
Yeah.
And that was incredibly powerful. the Sam thing is supposed to be funny, and
I
it's
don't think.
very
I
high
think it's supposed to be
energy.
sweet. I think
It
it's
is
supposed to be sweet.
entertaining.
I don't think funny. I think sweet.
She's sweet. Yeah, she's really sweet. The whole bit with the high five and everybody and doing all that,
And the
that went
names and stuff.
again. That went on too long.
I agree. The one that Wells I think went on. She was drunk for that. The drunk scene went on for about, I'd say 3 to 4 minutes too long.
Yeah, I did like that in the first few bits, but then it carried on.
Yeah.
But when she basically started that fight, I actually thought that was quite good. But as a holographic being or whatever, she could probably take their heads off. I
You'd
did
think,
like
right?
that they explained her species. I did like that they did that. They didn't overdo it. They just explained it quite succinctly.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't 100% it made logical sense because all of them were on one planet, apparently, and then they evolved. But I'm not going to go into it too deeply. I thought that was a nice little explanation. Crack on, because that was from the first episode when she came on. I was like, how are they explaining this? And I thought they did it succinctly, quickly, but clearly, and cracked on.
And I'm really interested in more about the cask people. I'm very like, especially now. Again, part of it they might have been jagoffs the way that they were, just to be like, oh, the adults putting too much on the kids. Like it might be that kind of thing. But I'm hoping there's something a little maybe more sinister. Maybe they're not quite as friendly as we hope. I'd like some of that.
Again, I am being unfair, but I keep seeing, because Stargate used to do episodes and you go, that's like this movie, or that's like this thing in this show, and that's like all the time. But I kind of always loved it when they did it.
Yeah.
I feel like Strange New Worlds keeps remaking old Star Trek episodes. But in this episode in particular, I'm like, well, they've stolen that from Mork and Mindy. It's very much like Mork and Mindy when she's doing the whole talking thing. And I feel like they've stolen the cask thing off the Orville with the robot dude that
the
was
Kalons. Is that what they are? Kalons?
Yeah, Kalons. So he's there to learn about them, and then he goes home, and they turn out to be the villain.
Well, first of all, if they did steal it from Orville, come on, that's fair. Because the Orville is all Star Trek. Yeah. You know what's funny?
Fair, because the shows have done that forever. So me then going, this feels a lot like the Orville. It's not really very fair because sci-fi's always done that.
Yeah. And I almost feel like the Mork and Mindy thing, like that's a good pull, by the way. I watched Mork and Mindy as a kid. Did not realize it till you said it, but there is some Mork and Mindy to it. But I also
immediately seems
yes. No.
What is this?
Look, if Sam's gets a friend who gets hatched out of an egg, I'll eat my words.
Yeah, it's a very possible thing that might happen.
Well, so I have to admit that like I was not into the way that the episode began and the fourth wall breaking and stuff. And it wasn't until the second time through that I watched it, because like I said, I watched them twice before I review them, that I realized that both Sam's bit and the silly dinner bit, which again, I'm sure you hated, but that scene was so funny. Except it wasn't. It wasn't irrelevant, because why is Sam looking for Cisco? Why did she decide to look after Cisco?
Because she's trying to make the bosses happy. So, do you mean the dinner? I thought you meant the dinner with Ake and the doctor.
Yeah, with the little things and the
fish and the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so go on then, because I thought that was irrelevant to the rest of the story.
So she went after the reason she gives a shit about Cisco isn't because she's a Deep Space Nine fan. It's because he's an emissary and she's an emissary.
Of course. Yes,
and
right, yeah.
And the Kelric is going to be an emissary from the War College to this weird species who we never see.
Yeah.
And the point that, like, what Sam learns, both through her experience, and this is why you have the drunk thing and why you have the trying the different foods and all that stuff, is that Cisco, what he did in through Deep Space Nine, and this is the thing with all Star Trek, is that it was because of his family, because of his crew, and because of even the people he didn't like in the beginning, like Quark and Odo and them, that he was able to do what he did, to win the Dominion War, to be a good emissary. And that's what is happening here. Sam and her people, it's because, more directly, because she's trying to learn about organics and learn these things that the Cask people want to know. She learns that by being with her people, her friends and all that. And similarly, Kelrick, who looks at the Starfleet Academy people as adversaries, even though they had that goofy little dinner, they made him more confident as an emissary for the War College to these people. Like these connections are all in there. I mean, I think that you just have to be willing to, and I think that's the problem with a lot of these shows, that people will, the people who come in with a like already deciding that it's going to be bad, it hates Star Trek, and it's not going to make any sense. So they don't look for these possible connections, whether that works for you, whether the Sam bit, the dinner bit, tying into being an emissary and it being a group effort, whether that works for you or not as a viewer, that is purely a personal choice. There is no right or wrong answer there. But I think that we, at least those of us who talk about this in a critical way, meaning like critical thinking, not criticizing, we do a disservice when we deny that the intention is there to begin with. I mean, say what you will about how it was executed. You cannot deny that this episode is a love letter to Deep Space Nine.
I mean, yes. Oh, my light's gone out. It definitely references Deep Space Nine.
Okay, so you don't think that it was done in a way that the people involved love Deep Space Nine?
No. I think the way
that's bananas and makes me want to vomit glitter.
I think the way Lower Decks did the Deep Space Nine episode did. I think that was a love letter to Deep Space Nine. This uses a character of Deep Space Nine to kind of tell a story, but it doesn't add anything to what Deep Space Nine was. If they'd have maybe given us a little bit about the Sisko.
Are you kidding me? We got, with the Jake Sisko part, we learned that Jake Sisko, first of all, and most importantly, he wrote the Anselm book that we saw in The Visitor. He did not publish it. And the bit that she read shows that he had some regrets and sadness about Sisko going away. But in both his little talk that we saw in the museum and then his talk directly with Sam, which I love how we haven't even tried to debate about how that was possible. We're just like, Sisko magic. Because Jake is a quarter prophet.
He was trying to talk to Sisko through an orb that was a hologram.
But she's a hologram. And again, it's magic. How are you going to be like, that's not how magic works? That's not the right way to use the magic. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, go on. Okay.
But
stupid. I was like, who are you talking to? What are you talking
You're right.
to?
You're right. Talking through a holographic orb is so stupid compared to talking to an orb that's shaped like an hourglass. That, I mean, come on.
Talking to people, it would talk back. So yeah, okay.
But
didn't talk
again.
Back. Yeah.
I think that it added a coda at least to Jake Sisko that he didn't, that he felt that his father was with him forever. He stayed in touch with Dax and all his people. He became a father, and he was a good father because Sisko was a good father. I mean, it told us, I think, everything we really need to know about Sisko after Deep Space Nine. Do we need to know what he's doing in the temple, whether he comes back, how that works? I don't think so. I think that's something that's best left in our headcanon to us for our fan fiction and stuff, to imagine. I think this was a way that they tried, whether they succeeded or not is up to you, but I think they tried to thread that needle where they maintained Ira Stephen Bear's initial vision of Sisko transcending human form to become a prophet, and what Avery Brooks wanted, which was to have Sisko be a positive father whose son never felt abandoned. I mean, he missed his dad, but he didn't
Yeah.
feel abandoned. And that
I
adds everything I needed.
Yeah. I wanted something that was actually going to add to the show Deep Space Nine, whereas what we got was Jake's story, which is fine, but not maybe what I. Do you know what I could have quite liked if they'd have made the comic book series canon, and actually maybe hinted at that a little bit, where
Look,
Cisco did return.
I know. And look, it's so funny. I don't begrudge people who like that, but oh boy, is that not my favorite of the comic
No, I
series.
thought the story was
I
kind of stupid as well. But they could have like hinted at it or used that a little bit, because they keep saying that these comics are canon.
Okay, but again, you talk about how this modern Star Trek tries to undo the stuff the previous Star Trek did. There is no bigger undoing of a previous Star Trek story than the only show that had a single writer's guiding vision by undoing the thing that he said was Cisco becomes a prophet and goes away. That would be, again,
Yeah.
you talk about, and I think it's folly when we.
Cisco says, I'm coming back, and then he does in a way to protect the prophets, because the thing that he's fighting against is like the God Killer, and it's actually putting the prophets at risk. So the story did make sense.
Well, of course, it's very easy to make a story make sense. I'm just saying that I did not like that story. I thought that I think that bringing Cisco back in any way does undermine, especially now that I know what Bear wanted. I think that that is the only respectful way to do it. Now, I do think that we get into very stupid, murky territory when we try to guess what's in people's hearts, whether it's Alex Kurtzman or any of these other writers. But like I said, if you listen to any Lower Deck commentary with Tawny Newsome on it, she is a Star Trek nerd in a way that would embarrass us. You know what I mean? And Kristen Beyer. I mean, have you ever read Kristen Bayer's Voyager novels? I've read a couple of them. She's written a ton.
I've read one or two. Yeah.
Again, she's like, I know I'm contradicting myself, but I find it hard to think that these two don't love Star Trek at least as much as you and I do. And I think that that's on display in this episode. And I think that the episode 5, I think it was a really, and I guarantee you, if there are any fans, for young fans for whom Starfleet Academy is their entry into Star Trek, this episode will make them watch DS9. 100%.
But why can't
that's the goal.
Why can't they make Star Trek? Look, they didn't try to aim TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager at children. They just tried to make good sci-fi, and it developed a fan base. What they're actively
they aimed it at adults. Star Trek TNG was for adults.
What they're actively doing with Kurtzman's Trek is they've got this business model where they think we've got to aim this at young teenagers to keep Star Trek alive. Why can't they just make a sci-fi show?
They've made many sci-fi shows. They may not be the sci-fi shows you wanted, but they have made them. Come on. And secondly,
Kurtzman hasn't.
Absolutely. First of all, you're saying modern Star Trek isn't even sci-fi? Come on, Jay.
It's not.
Come on, Jay.
It is sci-fi aimed at a very specific younger audience.
It's all of it,
while ignoring the rest of the audience.
Discovery and Picard. I will say that because this is the way. Again, you are now blaming Alex Kurtzman for the streaming model of television that he has no responsibility over.
No,
streaming shows are made for niche audiences. Star Trek Discovery was made for a specific Star Trek audience. Strange New Worlds is made for the audience that didn't want Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Picard was made for the people who wanted the old characters.
Well,
Star Trek Prodigy was made for Star Trek Prodigy was made for very young kids, like 7, 8. And honestly is some of the best Star Trek. I think the most Star Trek that we've gotten, the most classic Star Trek, I would say, is Prodigy.
Yeah.
And then Lower Decks was made for people who want to have fun at Star Trek's expense. But again, still Star Trek.
I think it was the lovers of TNG as well, though. It was a love letter to TNG.
Oh, yeah. Well, Mike McMahon, this goes way back, but he had a Twitter account called TNG Season 8, where he would just tweet things that was like, kind of like lower decks-ish takes on TNG plots. But my point is I think that like that's just how these things are done. Like you look at Marvel, you look at DC, you look at Star Wars. All of these streaming shows are aimed at sort of a niche part of the fan base because for whatever reason, and I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. In fact, I think it's kind of bad. They think that the streaming audience wants this sort of niche kind of storytelling, where I believe they should put these out as far as possible. I mean, that agree or not,
okay,
it's just.
Let me think. Who was the Expanse aimed at?
Well, The Expanse was on Sci-Fi. It wasn't a streaming show. It was on Sci-Fi.
No, but okay, it was a modern TV show. But though it was in.
Okay, I'm not talking about cable. I'm talking about streaming only. I'm talking about shows. Yes, streaming, and I'm IP streaming. This is because, your Star Wars, your Star Trek, your Marvel, your DC, the stuff that is made just for
Star Wars shows are aimed at different demographics slightly.
Different Marvel shows. You got your WandaVision, which was for a certain kind of audience. You got the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's the people who want the kick-ass fighty stuff. You had Loki. That's for the Tom Hiddleston fans and like the quirky
the Tom Hiddleston fans.
Yeah. Well, and like it's that the quirky cerebral kind of thing. And then I'm trying to remember what was the other one. You had Hawkeye, which was more the family kid show, the young people, because they had your Haley Steinfeld, who is like
Christmas series, really. I mean,
it really was a Christmas series. I watched it again this Christmas. It holds up. Hawkeye's pretty good. And now I think that is something that is not. I don't think that is Alex Kurtzman being like, this is how I'm making Star Trek. I think that's how Paramount wants, like, we want our Star Trek for this fans and this fan. And like, again, Strange New Worlds, definitely a response to people being like, oh, Discovery is too dark. That's why it's so bright and funny all the time, And again, I think that the biggest mistake they make is not putting these new shows on Netflix, Prime Video, as casting as wide a net as possible, because the people who watched TNG, yes, some of them were old Star Trek fans, but most of them were new fans. And then the people who watched DS9 were not the people who watched Voyager. I mean, some of us watched it all, but to this day, I still people who are like, "Oh, DS9 is my show." Voyager, I could give or take. They're not letting these shows find the audience that they're aiming for, and I think that is why we have only hardcore Star Trek people who just want the next season of their favorite Star Trek and are never going to get it because we already have that Star Trek, And now for me,
I am going to disagree. I think they could make a sci-fi show in the vein of TNG or whatever that appeal to all ages. I was 15, 16 when I started watching. I was 7 or 8 when I started watching original Star Trek.
Well, I think that you are perhaps using a bit too much of your own experience to say that these shows as they are couldn't appeal to all ages.
But it doesn't. I mean, it's very divisive within this fan base.
Well, it's divisive because the only people going to Paramount Plus to check for Star Trek are the Star Trek fans who want to pick apart Star Trek.
What's the insanity then of not pitching a show to the audience are there? That's insane. That's a stupid business model.
But that's what Strange New Worlds is, and people are mad at that now. And that's what Lower Decks was. And again,
even the third.
You're also
wasn't good.
It was fine. Was it the best one? No, but it was absolutely fine. I put the third season of Strange New Worlds up against any 10 episodes from the first season of TNG. Hell, any of the first 15 episodes of DS9. When it was Duet. Whenever Duet comes in, that's when I'm like, all right.
The season of TNG, other than Conspiracy, was not a great series. So if we're going to put it up against literally the weakest series of TNG.
But if it's the weakest, of course, you'd put the weakest episode series of one
against
show
the
against
this. I think the music.
And remember,
a lot of damage.
Every Star Trek, there are Star Trek fans out there who love Enterprise's theme song, think Spock's brain slaps. There's probably one, well, there's definitely ones that think Code of Honor is just great. So like every Star Trek thing that we think sucks is like 100 other people's favorite. Like that is what makes Star Trek so great. Like the old joke that I remember from back in the day when like, because my mom took me to like a few conventions, like comic conventions and stuff. And I remember hearing a joke that like, oh, there's 78 episodes of Star Trek. 30 of them are actually good. And, you know,
no,
which
sure. We forget the stuff that's weaker. Yeah, we do.
And but I guarantee you no one would ever be able to have a consensus on which 30. I mean, there are people who I guarantee you think City on the Edge of Forever sucks. You know,
yeah, they will, because again, at the time it was probably seen running around as Nazis and stuff was probably seen a bit silly. But
so I think that there is room for all the Star Trek. I think that they, again, you want to talk about how the studio manages the franchise, we can talk about that for days, because they've never fucking known what they were doing. They've never known what they were doing when it comes to that. You know, they think Star Trek is going to be Star Wars someday, and it never will. We're never going to have Star Wars numbers. It's never going to be that big of a sort of a pop culture thing, even though Beam Me Up and He's Dead Jim and all that stuff has gotten into the cultural osmosis. Star Trek is still a very niche kind of thing. And I like that they're trying to draw in these different viewers. I think they're just not putting them in a place where these viewers can find them, you know?
No, I would agree with that. I think they should have kept up the network and the Netflix deal. And what I would say is,
and God help us that we're here in 15 years and we can get back, we can get together, and I can remind you that I said in 15 years, Discovery, Strange New Worlds, all these other things will be as much Star Trek as Enterprise, Voyager. They will not be forgotten. I mean, well, it depends on where they go. If they stay locked behind the Paramount Plus paywall forever, maybe not. But I'm telling you,
I'm going to leave this final thought with you.
The animated series, people love the animated series now. Do you remember how people used to talk about the animated series?
Oh yeah, people hated it. I still don't like it. It was just.
But it's canon now.
It is canon.
Spock had a salat.
My final thought, and then we're going to call it a day, because
I'm
supposed to keep these to an hour.
I didn't know. 90 minutes. I would have thought 45.
Yeah. So I know, because we were having fun. My problem is, even though people didn't love TNG when it first came out initially, but they fell in love with it really quickly. People might have disagreed about Deep Space Nine, but they fell in love with it really quickly. Us Trekkies, Voyager the same, Enterprise the same.
You weren't on AOL in the 90s then, my friend.
New Trek is divisive, and it's not gone away.
Well, yeah, because there are YouTubers out there, my present company excluded, although you're not exactly a strong positive voice. But I mean, but you're not.
I really want to be.
No, but that's the thing. You are. You say that. You say I want to like it. None of the a-holes out there that are talking about like how many black people there are in the show and stuff like that. There are people who have created. You know, I call them outrage grifters. I don't know if I feel like I coined the term, but I know other people do.
Rage baiting. It's rage baiting.
Yeah. And it's poor media literacy. It's, you know, but it's this thing where and I've noticed this is a thing that not even exclusive to outrage grifters. It's this idea that people can't say, I don't like this Star Trek. They have to make it that Alex Kurtzman hates Star Trek, hates them, and is deliberately trying to make everyone mad. Like it has to be someone else's fault. They can't just say, I don't like it. This one wasn't made for me. I have 1,000, like 900 other hours of Star Trek I can enjoy. That is this, and that I think is a symptom of being online, where
people
not being a fan of something. Like I understand being a Star Trek fan is part of my identity in a big way, but to some folks, hating this stuff, not being a fan of other Star Trek, hating this Star Trek has become like their identity in the way that like politics becomes people's identity. So that you can't even.
I never turned on Kurtzman I always said, look, the stuff that he was directly involved with, I didn't like as much, but he gave us Lower Decks, which I loved. He gave us Strange New Worlds. There are parts of Disco I don't hate. I actually thought it
Wow.
ended quite strong. I thought
Oh yeah.
the final season was good. It
Oh
was,
man,
you know, it was quite good.
if we could have gotten 2 more seasons like season 5, I feel like the whole idea of what disco is would have been much different.
It did really pull out. There's parts of season 3 I didn't hate, parts of season 2 I didn't hate.
Yeah.
But there was too much in there. The first season was the only real season that I actually just went, that I had properly, like, they've ruined Star Trek for me. But the only time I actually turned on Kurtzman, I went, I've had enough of this now. They need to get Secret Hideout out. They are ruining Star Trek with Section 31.
Musical. Oh, Section 31.
Well, no, the musical pissed me off, but it didn't piss me off because it was a hateful show or anything. I just always thought they shouldn't have had it as the 9th episode of the season. It should have been like a special on its own.
It definitely shouldn't have followed Under the Cloak of War. That was
because
that one was heavy.
Yeah, it wasn't that they did it per se. It was when they did it as much. And I could have just ignored it. I think if it was like a Christmas special, I might have watched it and go, okay, well, it's a special, fine. But because of the way they did it, I really disliked it. But it was Section 31 that I went, now it's not forgivable anymore. This isn't.
See, I had so much fun with Section 31. Like,
oh God,
it was I mean, it was a fun little space romp.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, I don't understand what I don't like. I get why people would say if they wanted a Section 31 that was more like Sloane and that type of intrigue within Starfleet. Like, I get that, but for what it was, for Guardians of the Star Trek Galaxy, I had a good time with it. I'm not saying it was the greatest Star Trek ever. I'm saying that I had a fun 90 minutes watching that movie.
You weren't watching Star Trek anyway. So there's no Star Trek in it. Literally. Honestly, you mute that show, you wouldn't know it's Star Trek. And even when they put the original sound of the tricorders in, but they gave them bloody smartphones. They just couldn't do it. There you go. You've been told. You have been told, sir.
Well, all due respect to Mega Supreme with Cheese, one of us gets paid for our Star Trek opinions, and one of us doesn't. So
I do.
I was gonna say it may be invalid, but it helps pay the bills.
No opinion is invalid. I think it's a little bit tongue in cheek. No,
I know. I'm just. I actually. So here's the thing: I don't really believe in the whole like number rating thing, but on critical reviews and stuff. But the way that the thing's set up, like not like a 9 out of like 10 out of 10 is like it's a perfect piece of media that everyone should love. 9 out of 10 is like everything was everything I expected it would be and had fun with it. So I gave Section 31 a 9 out of 10. People went nuts because again. Based on the criteria, it's all my opinion.
Yeah, but why did they go crazy at that? I don't
get
it.
Because
clearly 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I know. Look, I would love to be like I stand by every word of my review. I'd give it a 7 now, just to stop the hate tweets every 3 months of people being like 9.
Make people very angry. Oh God, love you.
Oh, you know what else though? I will admit there is perhaps, again, it's all opinion, but here's a bit that might be biased. The guy who wrote Section 31, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania native. And that's, I always give a little extra credit to people from my hometown.
Yeah, Section 31 was doomed before
start. And it's funny because the stuff that people say is like a critique is stuff that I agree with. People are like, it's the Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Trek. I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Except there's no Star Trek in it.
What are you talking about? We got an Amon alien. We got a Chelonian, right? Isn't that what they're called?
The species that's not supposed to exist.
First of all, bullshit. Their homeworld was destroyed. Okay, they were a species that, again, Lokai, or I never remember which one is Bela and Lokai, but the Frank Gorshin one, also from Pittsburgh, says that they're like 30,000 years ahead of the Federation, or they're, I mean, they're a galactic interstellar species
Yeah.
way ahead. So why would they be restricted to only their homeworld? I mean, if
What's the
shit's
point
really
of that
going down.
episode? What is the point of that episode?
What episode? The point of that episode
The
is
original
that
series episode with that. What is the point of that episode?
the point of that episode is that because Lokai and Bela are so focused on their hate that they did not recognize that the problems of of their world was happening. So they get back their hateful thing. They land on the world. Their world is destroyed. They both wanted home. The first thing each of them says to Kirk, Lokai's talking about, they kicked us out of our homes. We weren't allowed to be in our homes. And Bela was like, we don't want them in our homes. We don't want them in our homes. Their homes were sacred. Their fight was about protecting their home. And then when they got back, their home was destroyed. It wasn't that their entire species was annihilated.
They destroyed themselves because of hate. That's the point.
They destroyed their
the moral
home.
Of the story. That's not the thing, because then the end of the episode is they carry on sort of.
See, this is where the canon lawyers piss me off, because nowhere in that episode does it at all even infer that the entire species was annihilated, just their homeworld.
But it takes away from the point of the episode.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't, because the whole thing is about home. It's not about the species existing. It's about their homes.
Yeah. No, I don't agree.
Thank you, Omega.
He's not loving you, but he's giving me money, so all good. For me, the whole point of that episode, the moral of the story was that through their hate, they destroyed themselves. If you say that, they
destroyed themselves. If you mean Bela and Lokai,
they didn't really destroy themselves, because actually they're all over the bloody place. Takes away from the moral of the story, for me.
But so, I mean, that's what the thing. But it's not. It's about their home. It's about their home world. It's about their life, their society. It's not about that their species has to be annihilated. Again, they are a species more advanced than the Federation. You think they wouldn't have colonies? I'm not.
The moral of the story.
Okay, that's fine if that's the moral of your story. But then you can't say that it is. They're not supposed to exist outside the galaxy. And again, the fact that there's five of these guys since that episode, I think is more in line with your thing. But again, come on. You're being reasonable.
They did it in section 31. A large portion of the fan base went, and they're doing it again in Academy.
Hell yeah, because those again. No, it's not. It's because you dummies think that they're not supposed to exist anymore, when in fact it's just that they don't have a home. Their home world is gone. They destroyed their home. They didn't destroy their entire race.
If you're being fed strict on this, whatever calling is.
Again, I'm not being strict. I'm just going.
The story was.
Says who? Because if you're going by the text of what they say, the first thing, everything that Bela and Lokai tell Kirk, it's about their home. It's about the sanctity and safety of their home. And Kirk and them are trying to be like, hey, why you guys shouldn't hate each other? You're basically the same. But for them, their gripe is based in, and that goes to sort of like
I think it does imply they're the last of their species in that, because the way it ends and they go off and they're still sort of, there's still that hate there at the end of the episode. It does imply that they're the last two. It doesn't say.
I mean, I would say you can infer it. I don't know about imply.
I think it. Well, maybe that's the. I think when the episode is made, that is what they're trying to say.
Well, the episode, it was Gene Kuhn's first episode, and it was basically he apparently unwittingly plagiarized a short story. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it's not even an original Star Trek idea.
Oh yeah, you're not fair to call this dummies.
For a second, I called Jay a dummy.
Yeah, that's fair. Which is fair. I got called worse. I've literally been called worse in comments, worse than that just today. I got a guy tell me that everything I say is stupid, I'm a joke, and he referred because I'm a Manchester United fan, which I'm wearing now. I'm like, whoa. I had you. I was fine with
go Man City. Oh, wait.
Go Manchester United. I was like, fuck you, buddy, Manchester United. Yes, I am a joke, and yes, I am kind of stupid, but don't diss Man United.
And look, my job is to talk about television. There's no more jokey thing than that. Come on. Taking
we
me
really shouldn't
seriously.
get too angry about a TV show, but it's such an
Well,
important
and
part.
honest to God,
It's such an important part, it's
that's the thing. Like, all I want is I want every Star Trek fan to have as much fun with Star Trek as possible. And if part of it is shitting on the stuff they don't like, that's fine, just so long as you're not trying to ruin someone else's good time.
we're still
I
talking about it.
And I love like going into like going back and forth about had I known we were going to get into Let That Be Your Last Battlefield, I'd have had my notes ready to go to like quote stuff. Because that's fun.
Again now, just to check.
Yeah.
If they say anything about them being the last, you're back. You're coming back, all right?
But that's the fun part. And like, see, and that's the thing that I like. I like people to have fun with Star Trek however they can. And if I am trying to like convince people to give Lower Decks or Discovery, Starfleet Academy a chance, it's because I want them to have fun with it too. Like, if you want to say Strange New Worlds is its own separate timeline, cool, awesome, absolutely. If you want it, if it's all got to be the same prime timeline, cool, we can make that work too. There's time travel, there's all sorts of ways we can justify that. Like, that's the thing that I want, because Star Trek fans, even though it can get contentious, we are not Star Wars fans, we are not Marvel fans, we are not the type of fans that like it, or at least we shouldn't be, where it becomes this kind of like hate, anger, calling people outside of their name, new Trek as a slur. Like, that's not us. That's not, I mean, if you are about the fundamentals of Star Trek, if you are about the ideals of Star Trek in like a larger sense, then you are about curiosity, reserving judgment, and compassion, and those type of things, infinite diversity in infinite combinations, which means there's room for everything. And that's why we're able to have these conversations, Jay, because even though we don't agree, we both love Star Trek. Neither of us is a better fan. I'm not more of a fan. No. You're not more of a fan.
No, I'm a little bit more of a fan. I've got that.
Oh yeah, well I got this. I got DS9. I got
mine's bigger.
Well, it's not the size of the starship. It's
no.
It's the motion in the warp core.
Mine, the wings go up.
I've got a runabout. I think I got a runabout.
Yeah, mine's still bigger, and that moves. So it moves constantly, actually, because I keep knocking the desk. Dude, mate, as always, it's been brilliant, and the whole point of us having this debate is that we don't really agree on certain aspects, other than that we fucking love Star Trek.
One of these days, we'll keep it under an hour. I swear to God.
No, we probably won't. But hey, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And
I will say this: next week, if Nussbrock is your favorite, pay attention next week. Next week, not a lot of funny. Not a lot of funny next week.
God, thank God.
I honestly think next week, now knowing what I know, next week might be your favorite episode so far.
Great.
I mean, not saying much, but
all I want to do is a video that I can go, I love this episode, I love this. But I did do a video long ago saying I just loved 3 episodes in a row. That's amazing. And then somebody pointed out, watch them again, and I did, and I'm like, oh shit, they're not very good. The documentary episode, I really enjoyed that because of the final sort of monologue from Christopher.
I remember.
I thought that was really powerful, and then somebody said, no, watch it again, and I'm like, oh yeah, the other 90% of the episode is crap, but I really loved that final monologue. I thought that monologue was amazing, and Anson Mount is a good actor.
And look, I try to be a very sincere, thoughtful, and fair critic. But I fully admit that, like, there of things that I'm in the bag for from get-go, it's Star Trek. I mean, my mom watched the series premiere on TV. She wrote a letter to NBC so it wouldn't get canceled. And, I literally cannot remember not being a Star Trek. I appreciate you too, Omega Supreme with cheese.
I want a burger though.
Oh, by the way, I want $1 of that.
And I'll transfer you $6.
Wait, yeah, no, it'll be £1. I won't know what to do with it.
Yeah, in a pound. Yeah, in my
Does your
money,
money
that's like
have the? Is Charles on
pence.
your money now, or is Liz still on it?
Who? What are you talking about?
The king, isn't the king and the queen, aren't they on
Oh
your
no,
money?
yeah, Charles is. Yeah, no, Charles is slowly getting
Okay,
into.
but Liz
Well,
is
not
still in
slowly. Yeah, most of
circulation.
our money is the king now. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they haven't done those because normally all of our letterboxes have got
Uh-huh.
the ER sort of thing logo. It's the Queen's logo.
Yeah.
And they sort of said, oh, we should probably do that. And then somebody pointed out they're all made out of cast metal, and it would cost like £1 billion. So I'm like, oh, okay, then we just won't do that.
We'll leave that for mummy then. That can be mummy's.
We'll leave that one. We'll put him on the money. We'll put him on the stamps that nobody uses anymore. And basically, we're just waiting for him to pass on so that a king we actually like can be king. So, but you know,
Poor Chuck.
and no one's ever liked Charles, I'm afraid. But oh well.
You know what though? The crown was very kind to Charles.
Yeah, hey man, he did. It worked. But yeah, we'll see. Well,
Yeah.
we want.
I'll tell you what. I wish we had some powerless monarchs instead of what we got right now.
In theory, our monarchy isn't actually powerless. They just don't action it. But they, whenever we get a new parliament, the king actually has to like sign it off. Basically,
Yeah.
they have the thing, and in theory, it's still in our constitution that he could, but it
could be
would
like no.
It would be very. But the other problem is, in theory, he can't in the constitution because our constitution is very complicated. But yeah, they're a tourist attraction.
Yeah, a couple months ago, I finally watched The Crown on Netflix, and I was like, oh, this is fun. Yeah, your monarchy seems fun, and I like the scenes where they would come and be like, I would like to form a government, Your Majesty.
Yes, yeah, they have to do that, but again, it's just a nicety, really. But technically, it could go no.
Yeah, you know
what? Would really
bugger off.
Yeah, it would cause a really crisis. But I mean, it's like Donald Trump could cancel the midterms, and whether you like Donald Trump or not, it would cause a crisis.
I mean, actually, again, our Constitution not that complicated, relatively speaking. He can't. States run the election. There's no federal elections, none. Look, he's not saying he's not going to try, but
well, that's why he's talking about national.
Yeah, letter of the law. States are in charge, and it should be very impossible to do. Hey, fingers crossed.
Let's not get into the politics. We've already pissed people off enough.
Yeah. Hey, otherwise, maybe save a bed for me. I might be fleeing the nation.
No, because we argue about Star Trek all the time.
That's true.
So it's probably not a good idea, mate.
I'm like, I want to watch Discovery. You're like, no, we're watching Deep Space Nine.
You're going, we're not watching. We can watch Lower Decks.
Okay, yes.
We'll always find something. All right, Josh, thank you so much.
Absolute pleasure, as always, Jay.
Come back when the season ends.
Indeed.
We'll get you back after season 10.
And if you want to give me the business in person, at Joshua M. Patton on all the apps. Check out my stuff on CBR. I'm writing about it. I got a love letter to Jake Sisko Publishing today, if you want to, about how much I liked him as a kid. Thanks for the chance to chit-chat.
I was never bothered by Jake's character at all. But
yeah. I mean, I didn't mind Wesley, but Jake was like the kid who was a kid. You know, him and Nog got in trouble.
Yeah, he wasn't irritated, Wesley. But anyway, have a good one, mate, and I will see you very soon, guys. Thank you again for being in the chat. Like, you've had brilliant comments, even though you've really disagreed.
I can't wait to go back and look at them and see all the business I've got. I'm sure they read me for filth. I'm sure they gave me.
Yeah, there's been some. But hey, we've had 40, 50 people the entire video, so that's great as well. And yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay.
Joshua. See you guys.